back to Synergy Bonus. Some friends that like to sit around, drink, and talk about games. And Ophelia the Wonder Cat.
Ophelia loves us. She does not look
She doesn't look happy at all, no.
Oh, well. She's cute.
Such is life.
What are we talking about today, Trav?
Continuing our foray into this year's Mega May, we are experimenting with the odd duck of the franchise. Mega Man X Command Mission.
It was an RPG for the X series.
Unique in the franchise. Every other game with the Mega Man title on it has been an action game of some sort, be it a platformer, be it a strategy, be it a sports game. Mega Man
racing.
Soccer, we love the... yes, Battle and Chase. Or even the really weird Power Battle Fighters. They were bad.
I mean, it wasn't great, but it's still kind of fun. So...
They were on the verge of so bad it's fun.
I'm going to kind of let Trav take the reins on this one here. Because are you going, Ophelia? Bye-bye.
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 Bye, kitty.
Shutting, kitty. Anyways.
Now you've got her power?
I've got her power. Haha.
God.
Travis played this more than I have, despite we probably both got it like launch day. I only got so far in it, and I just... Something else probably came out. I got Gamer ADD, something or other. It wasn't a bad game. It wasn't a great game either, but we're going to kind of tell you why.
So it came out in September 2004 for both, in North America, for both the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube, with subtle differences between the two.
And actually, I think this is a good thing to note right here. You probably got it on the GameCube.
I did.
And I got it on the PS2. And they're actually... Damn it, Ophelia. They're actually just slightly different in terms of horsepower.
In terms of horsepower...
and encounter rates.
Encounter rates were much higher in the GameCube version. Frame rate was higher in the GameCube version. Loading time was much shorter in the GameCube. The GameCube was a far superior system to the PlayStation 2. Just all around.
But no one cared for the GameCube as much.
No, it's...
Unfortunately.
Bad marketing.
But... I'll drink to that.
But, so... This is also notable in the Mega Man franchise in that when the idea of a role-playing game, turn-based RPG, set in the Mega Man X universe was brought up, Kenji Inafune just flat out refused, wanted nothing to do with it. He said Mega Man is an action game, it's a platformer series.
And it should be treated as such.
It's going to be treated as such, we're not doing this. And
so, some creative geniuses
turned around and were like, well, but it's also a very story-driven thing, especially X, and we'd like to explore that more. And so they assembled a team, actually a team that had worked a lot on the Breath of Fire RPGs.
And not the good Breath of Fire ones. We're talking Dragon Quarter here. If it was Breath of Fire 2 or 3, I'd say yes. Even 4, but Dragon Quarter...
No such luck. Yeah. And also the team that would later spend a great deal of time working on X7. More on that later.
I think... No, X7 had already come out because Axel is in this game.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, Axel. You tried so hard and failed.
I have a love-hate relationship with Axel, and when we get to talking about that, I'll explain my love-hate relationship. So, tell us about the story. Okay.
Well, the story is and kind of a nod to the Legends series that was forthcoming as well. We're about 100 years past the events of the main X series, which, for those paying attention, puts us in the same time frame as the Mega Man Zero games.
22XX.
22XX. And that doesn't quite work. It's why this one kind of sits out, because Zero is in both games and he can't be in two places at once.
It's almost
he can, but
it's almost considered non-canon at this point.
Yep.
Which I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's still fun. Whatever. And this meteorite has hit the planet out in an unspecified ocean. There's a lot of unspecified in this game.
The world is an endless ocean.
We're not quite there yet. And there's a new element echoing Wily's discovery of Basonium way back in the day.
This is Force Metal.
Force Metal is what they dub it this time, because I'm sure it sounds cool in Japanese.
Right. And then in the ZX series, it's Living Metals.
Uh-huh.
So,
but and this new mostly automated city out in the middle of this unspecified ocean.
Giga City, is that it?
Giga City is built expressly for the purpose of mining force metal from the deposit left by this crashing meteorite. And because the force metal, it just revolutionizes Reploid technology. And it gives them new powers and new abilities. It also has the nasty habit of driving things maverick, and sure enough, there's suddenly a maverick uprising led by this guy Epsilon, and the Maverick Hunter Z Squadron, led by Zero and X, is deployed to Giga City to put down the Maverick uprising. They get there, and they're betrayed by one of their other squad members, to Epsilon, who manages to throw Zero over a railing into the ocean and beats the shit out of X before he, leaves him for dead, and thus starting your new adventures, putting together a scrappy little rebellion to, with all of your support and everything cut off, to take back the island from the Maverick overlords. And classic RPG faction, you go around collecting new characters to help you. You've got eventually Zero comes back, and then he leaves again, and then he comes back again, and then he leaves again.
Yep. And then Axel joins.
Axel shows up
because he was mentioned he was introduced in X7.
Yep.
This takes place right after 7, sometime after 7.
But he's not there as part of the unit. He's actually just happens to be there because he's heard rumors that there might be somebody that knows something about his mysterious origins and where he comes from and how his powers work.
And Axel is a bad character.
But he's your summoner character.
And that's what makes him a great character in this game. He's your summoner. And he's a great character in X8 because he kind of plays like Bass does in the classic Mega Man, where he can aim his pistol in any direction, but he also gets the ability to hover.
Yep.
He's a better 2D character than a 3D character, and that's where X7 fails, and we'll talk about 7 later. But back to a 3D Mega Man game that's not a 3D Mega Man game. That's the best way I can put it.
It is a 3D RPG, and you've got, X right there in the middle of the screen the whole time.
He's pretty spiffy looking, too. Yeah. I'm a fan of this outfit, and they actually brought it back for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
And I'll come back to that in a minute once we get through the story. But so you're also joined by a bunch of new characters. You get this bounty hunter named Spider, who was originally hired by Epsilon to kill X, and through actions joins your party. You pick up this guy Steel Massimo, who, spoiler alert, turns out he's not actually Steel Massimo. He's some cowardly guy who picked up Massimo's armor after he found Massimo's tortured body. Because the actual Massimo was like this hero within the city, peacekeeper, vigilante type thing, who'd gone off to fight the Mavericks, and it ended poorly for him because he's not X.
He's kind of a boring character.
Yeah, Massimo himself doesn't develop much
Even
further.
ability-wise, he's pretty boring. Everyone else seems to have better...
Everyone else has an
ability.
elemental alignment. Massimo's neutral. That's where he's your normal type Pokemon, I guess. I'm
going to touch on that after.
The only thing that really stands out about him is that, to make up for the fact that he doesn't have an elemental elemental strength, he doesn't have an elemental weakness either. So he can stand in the front line and just get
hit
pounded
like a freight
on
train
over and over while your damage dealers are. Yeah, but I'm not really going to develop into strategies for this. It's an RPG. Figure it out on your own. And there are tons of guides for that.
And then there's Marino.
Marino is a cat burglar and specialist in corporate espionage. She's your eye candy character, I guess. It's each of the characters has a super move that's sort of a little mini game that they can hit to get a bonus ability or do extra damage. Spiders is interesting because it's a game. You play a hand of poker.
Cards.
Marino's is slot machines.
Whereas Cinnamon is your healer.
He's your healer. You spin the C-stick as fast as you can. Not like that!
You rotate the C-stick. I rotate the analogs. Broken.
Either way, Marino is depicted as a very underage character. We shouldn't be manipulating her any way, shape, or form.
Don't touch her analogs.
Or her C-spot.
God, Trav.
What?
Continue the story.
But yeah,
Characters, whatever.
You pick up Cinnamon. Masamona. That's it. That's the cast.
Yep. I want to touch on combat just a little bit here.
Sure. It is a turn-based strategy RPG.
Which is nice, but
You get to
it's a
pick
little
three
more.
characters to put on the field.
It's a little more involved too, because I
they wanted to
remember
preserve the action feel of the main series.
because X, yeah, you can fire your blaster, but you can also hit another couple buttons to shoot little rockets there.
Yep.
And the way the battle track
Or other abilities, depending on which character you've got. Like Zero's got his heat shadow that makes him harder to hit. And
there's a battle track on the bottom of the screen that tells you the turn order, and this is a staple in a bunch of RPGs actually. Actually, mostly non-square RPGs, I'd say. And there's ways that you can actually change combat to your favor. Oh, you hit them with this. Oh, their turn got pushed back.
yeah, it's all about the long game is all about stat buffs and debuffs and
Making sure your turn is always up and they're
yeah.
very dead last.
It's very much less about the usual. Here's the appropriate element. I have an advantage. I'm doing more damage, and more about the. I've manipulated the turns and the combat and all that, so you're getting fewer turns than I am, and my super's ready, now you're dead.
And this is where Trav was mentioning there's like a little mini game for people. Massimo is the only character that really doesn't
You just hold
get
the
that.
In my case, the big green A button until it charges. I don't know what you like, X button or something.
X
Triangle.
button.
Yeah.
But like he doesn't do much of anything. The other characters are a little more in depth, a timing thing, button mini game. Like,
Axel is an interesting thing where you put in your telephone number and whatever you put out in he changes into any of the other bosses you previously.
And
defeated.
that's kind of cool. I like it because it kind of explains the element thing that you get from the prior X games.
Which is the closest thing you get to acquiring enemy
Skills. That's
skills and
kind
abilities.
of where I was going.
Yeah, go ahead.
But like it starts as a tree. You press the button combinations and you got on the tree. So you got to know your path depending on what you're fighting because it's element wise. Oh, this guy is water. That guy's fire. I need to here. Or you're going to hit him with something else and not do as much damage, or heal him.
Yeah, yeah. That's always nasty when you whip out a big elemental attack and it heals your enemy.
Yeah. Axel is not good for much, but he's a good summoner and he's good in a 2D game. And I'm going to leave it at that. He's a shitty
He was
character.
I mean, I didn't like it when he was talking during a cutscene, but
I'm pretty sure he was voiced by Ash Ketchum.
I think so.
At least.
I will look into that in a minute, but I don't know. He was a core member of my main team. My main team was X because, as far as I know, you can't de-equip him.
And X is pretty solid regardless.
He's average all around. Cinnamon for the healing abilities, and then I would either have Axel in for the summoning, or
I usually would put Zero in if I had him.
Zero if I had him. And
Otherwise, it'd be the other one, the other chick.
Marino. If I needed something for fast damage, rather
Massimo
than elemental.
just wasn't even
Massimo was
considered.
definitely my tank for a long time, right up until I got Axel. Actually, 'cause I did find a use for him, but
I'm gonna be honest with you right now. I never finished the game. Like I said, I had the gamer ADD. Something else came out. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But I don't know, Trav. How far would you say I got? Because I got to the power plant in the desert.
he's about a third of the way through it.
So that tells you how much I played.
It's I've easily sunk 80 hours to a save file into this game, and that's not just grinding because I typically get to the final boss very under-leveled. That's just going straight through the game. And
that used to be my problem back in the day with most RPGs, Grandia in particular. Final Fantasy VII was another one. Goddamn Materia Keeper.
It isn't so much that the game requires you to grind. I mean, that's an RPG thing.
Right.
It's that this game doesn't have a lot of good areas for you to grind. You can go back to the desert, but eventually you out-level that. You can spend some time in the rainforest area grinding a bit, but
the game really focuses on you stunning the enemies and pushing their damage track back. I think very much to Zero, where he will take his actually heat rod because it's not a saber in this. It's the X6 heat rod. And I'm thinking about a Met. Where, he'll be attacking and then you hit the Met, knocks it on its helmet, it's stunned for a turn, basically, until it can get back up. Yeah. And that's kind of how it wants you to play this game, which, that's good. That's a good strategy.
Use the status effects to your advantage.
I'm going to tell you that the design of the Mavericks...
That's what we're going to get into, the visuals here. We mentioned already that the game takes place at roughly the same time as the Mega Man Zero series.
So they
which
tried
has
to capture that a
some
little
plot
bit.
hole things. So the design team tried to capture those elements, resulting in a huge redesign of the standard characters. Axel still looks like Axel, and Zero still looks like Zero.
X is the one
has
that
a brand new suit, and it's phenomenal.
It is
looking.
phenomenal because it's blue with little flicks of red and black,
and he's got
this like
exhaust ports
glowing
that trail like
scarf.
a glowing scarf behind him. It looks fantastic.
It's wonderful, and he rocks it. And I'm glad, like I said, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. That is an alternate costume for him, and it's wonderful.
It's an absolutely gorgeous look for him, and the other characters look much more like they'd be at home in the Mega Man Zero universe than the Mega Man X universe.
To me,
with the possible exception of Ale. Ale, you could drop right back into Mega Man X and be just fine.
Let's see here, Cinnamon and Marino and Massimo, to me,
Massimo almost looks like he could drop him into the ZX stuff and he'd be right at home.
They still feel very generic to me, and I think that's the problem. And even the Mavericks in the game, they're not. I can't even remember what they look like.
Bob the Django was a bobcat. Silverhorn was a triceratops.
There's just a lot that
I can't even remember what his name was, but he was this green guy with the two bongos, and he was really interesting.
They're just really not memorable. I just remember the water guy. I don't even know his name. I know what he looks like in my head. That's about it.
Okay. There was the bird that had the fire thing, and yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
While we keep talking here. Shit. Spider's got that lovely
Spider's the riverboat gambler look going on.
I really like the way Spider looks.
Yep. It's a shame when he, spoiler, dies halfway through the game. But
yeah, why don't you kind of go into that here?
I mean, there's not much more to be said without getting into crazy spoilers in the plot.
And it's so far gone. If you want to spoil,
it turns out that you were the commander who was in charge of the Z unit that sent you to Giga City was this guy Colonel Redips. More astute players than I noticed that Redips and Spider are mirror images of each other. And it turns out Spider doesn't die. He's just the alternate persona of Colonel Redips, who is the actual final boss. Not Epsilon. Epsilon's a good hunter who never went Maverick. He just, for whatever reason, didn't tell you that Redips had gone Maverick and wanted the Force Medal for himself.
And I kind of guzzled this, so I couldn't really find what I was looking for.
Yeah. I did see the platypus professor.
Yes, that's kind of... Yeah.
And there was the weird mantis thing in the rainforest. Super stylized mantis. It kind of reminded me of Wheels Numbers a little bit.
Whales Numbers.
When they got the white super form going on there.
Like Death Tan's mantis.
Yeah, like them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were interesting. They were just kind of out there. Okay, the Bobcat wasn't interesting, but that's because he's the first boss of the game, and you raffle stomp him.
At least it wasn't like Flame Hyanard, and if you've played X7, you know what I'm talking about. Burn to the ground, burn to the ground, burn to the ground, burn to the ground, burn to the ground. There was none of that in this. No. Thank God. I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the greatest RPG out there.
Lukewarm receptions across the board. Like the average score for this is a 69 out of 100.
It's a fun game.
It's a lot of fun. I've spent a lot of hours on it, as I already admitted.
Honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest with you here.
Go for it.
For a Mega Man RPG, I prefer the Command Mission and Star Force games over this because there's a little bit more strategy to it.
You mean
and whatnot.
Battle Network, not Command Mission.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. It's been a long week. You're going to hear that a lot from me.
It'll be more news when there's a short week.
When it's a short week, yeah, it's true. But yeah, Battle. I almost like Command Mission again, but Battle Network and Star Force, and it just it feels very like they did a good job with those. And I mean, for being a traditional turn-based RPG, not even tactical, it did very well. It was nice to see the characters in 3D and not sucking 100%. X isn't the pussy that he is from X7.
No, yeah, he doesn't have that whole...
This is a breath of fresh air if you came from X7.
Yeah.
X7 was abysmal. Like I said, we will talk about that.
Command Mission X feels like X. My biggest complaint is for reasons unbeknownst to me. The game is fully voice acted. They decided to make Zero like
a surfer.
A California 1980s cowabunga surfer accent. I mean, he keeps the Zero attitude, but that accent, and it comes off as like a really awkward Sonic the Hedgehog kind of thing, only not Jaleel White.
They fixed this in X8, thankfully.
Yeah.
I mean, X8...
this is a series that's plagued with bad voice acting, but
X8 fixes a lot of those problems, especially X's voice. Yeah. He's not a little girl. X's voice is masculine in this, isn't it?
Oh yeah, X's voice sounds really good.
I'm guessing it's probably the same voice actor they got for X8, which if you've ever watched the American version of G Gundam, it's the voice actor for Domon Kashu. I don't know his name offhand, but he's a solid voice actor, and it actually fits very well for X.
And Marino sounds good, and Cinnamon sounds good, Spider sounds like he should. Massimo,
any characters that aren't core characters sound good.
Axel sounds like he needs to blow his nose. Like, he's got that sort of nasally quality to him.
While we're talking about sound and whatnot, because it's been so long since I played it, because I haven't finished it, the music, Trav, like...
It's very good, it's very atmospheric, it fits... It is not at all memorable. I can kind of remember the music for like the central hub, but that's just because you spend so much time there exploring and talking.
I think I can remember that too. Actually, I don't know if it's Zero's theme or like when he goes into super mode.
Super mode.
That's a good theme. It's a good theme. I know. I think it's called Heat Haze or
that's when he goes into super. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that was.
In fact, that's the only music I can remember from the game.
Like I said, it's very good. It's very atmospheric. It feels appropriate where it's supposed to.
It's colorful.
The music is colorful, and the game is colorful as well. Yeah. It's very bright, which was a relief because at that point in time, I'd been exposed to nothing but really dark and gritty RPGs, where their palette consisted of 4 shades of brown and gray. But this is just like, look, we can tell an appropriately dark story and still have something that's visually engaging, and I love that.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you're like me and you have a 4K TV or even an HD TV, playing this game is going to look awful.
It's going to look rough.
Until there's an HD version or it just gets put onto not even an HD version, but just ported to one of the newer systems, it's going to look like garbage because it will be properly formatted for that. It's not going to be properly formatted. It might look washed out. It's going to look kind of pixelated.
Just get around.
It played on the computer at that point, yeah, because it's going to be formatted for that. I'm expecting after this X collection that they're going to be launching, they'll probably do another couple collections, but I think we'll see maybe like a collection of just random Mega Man games, hopefully Command Mission, Battle and Chase, Mega Man Soccer, the Power Battles. I mean, I wouldn't pay full price for that, but I would pay $20 as long as Command Mission was on there.
I might pay full price for Command Mission if they just touched it up and didn't change anything.
Right, and I don't think they would, because they're pretty good at that.
Or if they were going to change something, there's throughout the game, you pick up these coins, and it isn't really explained what they're for until you encounter a vending machine. And then you have these little capsules that have action figures in them of the various characters and enemies throughout the game with a little more explanation. It's your bestiary function.
Yep.
And like do something online with that. That might be awesome, or with amiibos or something else like that.
And and like Capcom's done the same thing with like Resident Evil 4 with
Yeah.
the collectible figures in game.
Or at least
it's a neat way to do
or at
it.
least give me like a trophy or something for finding all of the
So Trev, we've kind of talked this out now. How would you rate the game? You know what online will rate it. What would you personally rate it?
I'm gonna
On a 1 through 5 system, how's that?
I'd give it 4 out of 5 spoonies.
4 out of 5. I would do 3.5, 4. I'd say it's not the greatest, but it is enjoyable. I will I will go back and finish it at some point.
He's been saying that for 12 years, folks.
Right? I mean, yeah, I have, but I'm gonna say if they do a port of it, I find it much more easier and accessible to do that. Because sometimes when I
If we can get it off the PS2, he'll probably.
if it's off the PS2, don't get me wrong, I love the PS2, I love the PS1. Those games
That's
are
what's
great,
wrong, right?
but like the TVs nowadays can't handle older systems, which is a shame because I like classic gaming, and if it's not sprite work, it's gonna look awful.
I don't know. I've got a big old plasma TV, and it doesn't negatively impact my GameCube one way or the other.
I will have to show you just a random game. I'm thinking Dragon Quest right off the top of my head. I'll even show you Mega Man. That's with that, I'm gonna just call it there. Play this game. I mean, if you want an RPG that's a little different, play this.
If you want a Mega Man game, it's a little different. If you want a Mega Man game that's a little more story-driven and a chance to really get to know the personalities of some of the characters, it'll make you like Axel a lot more than you already do, and it'll make you like Zero a lot less than you already do.
Yeah, it's true.
But
No, with that, good night.
Good gaming.
Good gaming.